Hello everyone. They are finally here. 911 emergency trade opportunities are finally here. And I don't know how long they're going to stick around. So pay attention to this video. You're going to want to watch everything in this video as the markets begin to crater. And what are the 911 emergency trades? Basically, they are how to safely generate $2,000 to $5,000 in profits per week when the markets are going crazy. And they have started to go crazy, and these opportunities have just started. And in the recent past, many of you experienced significant hits in your retirement accounts with the markets dropping. And in a matter of weeks, 3 years of gains in stocks have gone down in flames. It is another mini crash. Some stocks have dropped as much as 30% in the blink of an eye. And it won't be the last time. Quite frankly, when these types of things happen, most investors don't have a clue how to deal with them. Most just say, stick it out, hold on, hold your breath. Some say, go buy gold or silver. Some say you might want to get out and wait for things to quiet down. But on this last drop in stocks, as well as in past time, gold and silver didn't cover the losses, nor will they cover the losses. But none of them show you how to actually make money when things get crazy. And I'm not talking about a small amount of money. I'm talking about thousands of dollars on a weekly basis for as long as volatility remains elevated. And I'm not talking about huge risks either. In fact, I'm going to show you how you can risk as little as $100 to make possibly as much as $1,000 in a matter of days. And if volatility continues to increase, that number just goes up while the risk remains extremely low. And anytime the markets get volatile, the 911 emergency trade strategy is your go-to strategy. If you want to learn how to generate thousands of dollars on a weekly basis while the rest of the world is in chaos, pay attention to this webinar. You won't hear about these opportunities anywhere else. Imagine never again worrying about what to do in a stock market crash or correction. In fact, you might even get excited when stocks take a tumble in the future. And while the rest of the world is in chaos, you're going to be running to the computer to get in on these trades. And it doesn't matter what causes the panic. This strategy is not just for what is happening right now. For years I've been saying that we are constantly one major news event away from a stock market crash, or at minimum a significant correction. And in February 2020, the coronavirus news event took its toll on the markets, with stocks dropping 35% in a matter of weeks. And it's been 5 years since that event. And now, with the world in chaos, the unknown of tariffs, the unknown of potential wars breaking out, these are hitting the stocks hard. Volatility has finally spiked again, creating some unbelievable opportunities. Take, for example, this trade that I was filled on this morning. And you'll notice that this trade has a profit potential, if the market bounces, of over $800. And as volatility if volatility continues to drop, this simply continues to balloon and become bigger. If the market makes a decent bounce, I can make as much as $1,000 this week on this trade. If the market continues to tank, I'm guaranteed at least a small profit, so I have no risk to the downside. And if the market screams higher, that's my only real risk on this trade. The risk is only $150, and that is if the market absolutely skyrockets in a single day on a gap, bypassing this huge profit zone. If it doesn't gap, as the market travels up through this profit zone, we have a tremendous probability of taking a profit. The market would have to literally gap above the profit zone in order for us to begin to potentially realize the risk. And even then, you could still pull out with a pretty significant profit based on how volatility works with these options. But there is obviously risk on this trade, but it's very far away, and in between there should be lots of opportunities to take significant profits on this trade. The markets have been put on notice. You have been put on notice. Volatility is spiking. This is very similar to August, where it didn't last very long. However, there's more news events that are going on right now than were going on in August. The drop in stocks in August last year was not really sustainable. This is more of a normal retracement. This drop seems to have potentially some legs so that it could continue moving higher now. I did not think that this was going to happen a couple of weeks ago, but now that it is, there is no limit to what this could do. However, notice the volatility index from 2020. The market shot, the stocks crashed, volatility shot up, and it didn't last long. Now, during this time period, there were lots of opportunities, and then there was some opportunities here and here and here, but we don't know how long this is going to last, so that makes this very time sensitive, which is why we're going to put a very strict limit on your ability to get in on these trades. So time is of the absolute essence with this approach. With 911 trades, you have to strike when the iron is hot, and you keep striking for as long as the opportunities last. If that's 1 week, great. There are significant profits that can be made in 1 week. I kind of think that this is going to last for at least a month or so at this point because of all of the unknowns going on with tariffs and the wars that are going on. So you keep striking for as long as the opportunities last. You can make as much as 5 years worth of returns in a matter of 4 to 6 weeks if the opportunities hold. This is very, very serious opportunities that you can take advantage of, but we don't know how long it's going to hold. It could continue moving higher, and that's just going to increase the opportunities on these trades. You want to be taking advantage of them. Those who participated in the 2020 crash with 911 trades made a killing in a small window of time and have been waiting for this moment for 5 years now to come back. Finally, another opportunity to cash in while the world runs from the markets is here. And for most investors and traders, this is not a good thing. But for you, I'm going to show you how to profit from the panic. Profit from the panic. Don't get me wrong, no one wishes bad things to happen. But whatever bad things that are happening do not alleviate the financial responsibilities that you have to your family. And everyone knows this. Your bills are still going to be coming in regardless of what the markets do. You still have to put food on the table. Most of your investments are probably going in the toilet right now, and you have to deal with that. Bad things are going to happen. That is the world we live in, especially in the stock market. It's always only a matter of time before something else happens that sends stocks swirling. And it is wise to be prepared so that when they do, you will not only be in a position to survive, but to also thrive. Think of it like how Joseph prepared for the 7 years of famine, and because he was prepared for the bad things to happen, he not only survived, he thrived. And what I'm going to show you is how to not only survive, but how to thrive in the markets when bad things happen. That's why I call this approach my 911 emergency trading strategy. When bad things happen, this is the strategy to dial up. And before the end of this webinar, you're going to be amazed at how incredible some of these trades are. Take, for example, John out of Arizona, who took 2 low-risk, high-probability trades in the heat of the market volatility and made over $2,000 in just 3 days. He says, thanks to your report from Sunday, I already made some $2,000. I'm sure joining this program. Can't wait for Monday. The trades they are referring to came out of a 911 emergency trading report that was sent to them over the previous weekend. And by Wednesday, these trades closed out for a profit of $2,125 with very little risk. And some that risked more made a whole lot more. But one of the great things about this strategy is that almost anyone can begin profiting from the 911 emergency trades right now. It requires very little capital. All you need to put on one of these trades is $2,000 in your account. And towards the end of this webinar, I'm going to show you multiple opportunities that are risking less than $100. So it does not require a lot of capital. There's no market watching. There are no adjustments necessary. You put the trade on. You wait for the exit period, and you exit the trade. It's as simple as that. There are multiple opportunities on a weekly basis. In fact, there are dozens of opportunities on a weekly basis, and this strategy can grow your account very, very quickly. How quickly? Well, I'll give you one example, and it's not necessarily something that you're going to be able to duplicate, and the volatility is not where it was during the pandemic of 2020, but Jake out of Texas turned a $3,000 account into over $55,000 in just 2 months taking these trades during the pandemic spike in volatility. And I'll go into more detail on Jake's experience here in a minute. But my point is that this strategy is too important for you to pass up. If not for now, for however many times in the future the market begins to correct and crash. If the current tankage in the markets doesn't last long, you can easily make more than enough to pay for the entire 911 emergency trades package with your very first trade. There are just too many things now that create uncertainty in the markets to not learn this approach. Even if the current opportunities do not last for very long, you'll at least then be ready for the next one. This situation could continue on for months, providing tens of thousands in profits with very low risk trades. Or it could be over in a week. I just don't know. But there is too much instability in the world to not be prepared for bad things to happen. This will not be the last time volatility hits the markets, even if this time doesn't last very long. You could pay for the package with just one trade, and then you'll be properly prepared for the next time. There's too much at risk to not learn about the strategy. Period. End of story. And the current events are creating potential windfalls for traders who implement the 911 emergency trading strategy. Because of this, it is incredibly important for you to do whatever it takes to learn this approach and learn it well. It will be time well invested. So what is this strategy and why does it work so well? Well, simple. The strategy is a specific option spread strategy that is specifically designed to maximize profits during high volatility while risking very small amounts. If you're not familiar with options, that's okay. It just means it's going to take you a little longer to learn the approach. Do not let the fact that this is an option spread approach disqualify you. If you have been meaning to learn about options, now is the time. So let me show you a profit projection graph from one of the trades mentioned earlier that cleared over $2,125 in just a couple of days. This is that graph. This is one of the trades. This was $1,175 in 3 days. That was a separate trade. And this is in SPY. And at the time, SPY was trading under 240. This is during the last pandemic. And this graph represents the projected profit and loss based on where SPY moves on the day that this trade is exited. And so you can see some characteristics behind this trade that you're going to see that are very similar to the ones that exist right now. The only difference is that the profit potential is just slightly less right now because the volatility is not quite as high as it was back then. But if it continues to move higher, there are going to be tremendous opportunities. So this was placed on a Monday morning and exited, the following Wednesday right before the close for a total of 3 trading days. $1,100 in just 3 trading days. So on this particular trade, the market closed just under 247. So it actually bounced a little bit, and the trade closed out at a $1,175 profit. Now take a look at the risk. Where's the risk on this trade? Well, the risk is to the upside. There is no risk to the downside. In fact, this trade is guaranteed to make at least $50 if stocks would have crashed or even gone to zero. To the upside, the risk is about $200 on this particular trade. Again, this was when volatility was a little higher, but with a very high probability of success. It was around 90% at the time. And the risk is very small and absolutely limited. This is not uncommon when markets are volatile, which is why I showed you the trade that I took this morning, which is very similar to many that I took 5 years ago, the last time stocks really began to crash. You'll notice I will not lose money if the market moves lower. If the market moves higher, I will make money up to a certain point and probably have just a very high probability of being able to exit this trade at a profit long before it ever reaches the risk zone, even if the market does move higher. There is the possibility that the market jumps and produces a loss here, but it's a very small possibility. And even then, if the market jumps, again, the way that the options work, there will probably be an opportunity to get out even if the market jumps at a profit. Nevertheless, there are dozens of trades like this. This is multiple times each week for as long as the volatility remains higher, if you know what to look for. So what creates these monster trading opportunities? In short, it is a very specific relationship of time decay. Different options have different time or extrinsic value and different rates of time decay. For example, let's use 2 different options as an example for the next 3 days. Option 1 has a time decay rate of $50 per day, and option 2 has a time decay rate of $150 per day. So option 2 is decaying at 3 times the rate of option 1. After 3 days, the total time decay in option 1 is $150, and the total time decay in option 2 is $450. So the net difference here in time decay over the 3-day period is about $300. So let me ask you a simple question. Which option would you want to buy and which option would you want to sell between these 2 options? Obviously, you want to buy the slower time decay option and sell the faster time decay option. This is what it looks like on a chart. This is a very basic chart. This is without volatility, but nevertheless, this is what it looks like. This is time decay on how this really works. The time decay increases on the short option, whereas the time decay remains fairly stable on the long option. You have to know which option to sell and which option to buy to create this scenario. And this is really simple logic. However, execution is a little bit different. You have to know what to look for, which is why I do these videos and live trade calls. But the fact of the matter is that no one teaches this stuff in this context, so this is the only place that you'll learn how these relationships work with such simplicity. Check out what Jim Kay wrote to me about my approach to options, which is entirely based on this premise. Okay? He says he's been trading OEX options since the early 80s, and he's traded options on everything you can imagine from stocks, futures, forex. But the PPD, or the price per day on SPY you teach, is absolutely one of the best things I've ever learned, and I have learned that after 30 years of trading options. So he will testify that after 30 years of experience, this is the best thing that he's ever learned. And I get these comments all the time. Here's another one from Mr. Harper out of Texas. He says this is the most valuable insight that I've come across. He says it's nearly priceless. I don't want to read the whole thing. You can read the whole thing here. He says you can start with a ridiculously minuscule amount in your account, and with 911 trades, as I previously showed you, it only requires $2,000, and you can build it into a small fortune. And the longer this lasts, the bigger that fortune can be. Nobody else, in his not so humble opinion, is presenting this material in the style that I've chosen to present it. And that is absolutely true. You won't find this anywhere else. Here's one from Mr. Martin out of Arizona. He spent over $100,000 over the years on all sorts of trading courses, seminars, strategies, signal services, etc., etc., etc. And he says the only trader who has all the pieces to this puzzle is Ryan Jones. Here's the last one, Mr. Gibbons. He says this is the best he has seen in 43 years of trading. The option strategies that I've put together, he says, are the best that he's seen in 43 years of trading. So part of the reason you won't find this information anywhere else is because there is one more piece of the puzzle that you must account for with option spreads. You have to take into account market movement. You can't just sell the fastest time decay option and buy the slowest time decay option. You'll create a disaster if you don't know how to do this properly. So for example, here's one of the fastest time decays and one of the slowest time decays as far as the market staying fairly quiet. But if the market moves, all of a sudden they switch roles. And you have to understand how that works, and that creates risk on both sides. So in this zone right here, the time decay of the short option exceeds the time decay of the long option. But if the market moves on either side of that, big losses will occur. I show you how to put together the right short option with the right long option to maximize gains, minimize risks, and increase the probability of success, and especially with the 911 emergency trades. So you have the right combination to account for both time decay and price movement. This is the key to unlocking some of the most ridiculously favorable probability investment opportunities on the planet, and that's even without volatility being higher. When volatility is higher, that's like throwing gasoline on an ember. It just explodes the value of this approach. But it doesn't matter what I do with this strategy. What matters is what you do with this strategy. During times of high volatility, you can actually grow your account very fast. Earlier I mentioned that Jake out of Texas, who grew his $3,000 account to over $55,000 in just over 2 months, which is an incredible feat. He did it exclusively using my unique approach to options, and in 1 week alone, thanks to high volatility markets, Jake pocketed over $28,000 trading 2 of my 911 emergency strategy trades. Now, obviously, he was trading a larger trade size when he did this because he was growing his account according to the compounding table. And he was taking trades just like this, where the profit potential was fairly decent and the risk was pretty small. Probability pretty decent on this trade, even with the market moving higher. Here's another trade where the risk is even smaller if the market stays the same. I'll show you how to structure the trade so you can make it more bullish or more bearish. So you don't have to wait for a bounce for the market to move up. You can make money if the market stays right here, or if the market continues to crash, where you can balloon some profits, because if the market crashes, they will continue to increase volatility. And once you understand how these relationships really work, the sky is the limit. So forget about credit spreads, forget about iron condors that carry huge risks, or option spreads where you have to constantly make adjustments to keep from suffering a big loss. I'm going to give you the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, on how to structure these option spreads to maximize the potential profit while minimizing the risk and the probability of realizing that risk. And I'm going to show you how to grow your account exponentially so that you can experience potential windfalls during times of higher volatility. Again, this is why I showed you this trade. Times of higher volatility allow for larger potential profits and higher probabilities of success. If volatility continues to drop, the trades get even crazier. Here's a trade that was taken during the pandemic. It has a $12,000 maximum profit potential with a 90% probability of making something on the trade and nearly a 10-to-1 max profit to max risk ratio. You don't get many better opportunities than this. And this trade has no risk to the downside. In fact, it was guaranteed to make at least $1,500 if stocks completely crashed. By the way, every trade that I've shown you are actual trades, not hypothetical, actual fills, not hypothetical. So I hope I've been absolutely crystal clear on the importance of every trader to learn and implement this strategy. Even if you can't implement it, if the opportunities right now don't last long enough for you to learn it and then take the opportunity, you will at least be prepared for the next time as opposed to not being prepared this time. And right now there are tremendous opportunities that you are missing out on. Opportunities that have the potential to make as much as $1,000 to $5,000 per week if volatility remains elevated. And I mentioned that Jake earlier, who turned 3,000 account into over 55,000 in just 2 months. I've mentioned that several times now, and I'm doing that because it's somebody else other than me. So I know you can do this. But in just 1 week, at the height of the volatility, Jake banked $28,000 of those profits in just 1 week. So what I want to do is make it as easy as possible for you to start taking advantage of these trades. I've put together a very special package for you, one that includes you learning over my shoulders in real time as the markets are moving. In fact, this Monday, April 7th, I will be doing a 911 emergency live trade session where I will place on at least one trade while you watch, and probably several trades during that hour. Depends on what the market is doing. If the market is still tanking, I guarantee I'm going to take more than one trade. If the market is moving up, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious, but you're going to still see a great trade where you could potentially make back the entire cost of this program. Nevertheless, this is one that teaches you everything you need to know to take advantage of these trades for the rest of your life. Every time the markets get volatile, this package will be something that you go back to again and again and again as the markets become volatile. And since I'm the only one showing you these incredible opportunities, I could easily charge $10,000 for this package. Again, I showed you a single trade that in just 4 days had the ability, the potential to make as much as $12,000. I actually closed out the trade for just over a $5,000 net profit, but it had the potential for $12,000. This far exceeds the cost of the package that you are getting today. This was in 4 days, $5,000 gain in 4 days with that trade. Many traders on their very first trade cleared over $1,000 and over $2,000 in their very first week during the pandemic. It might be a little bit more difficult to do that with the current volatility, but if it continues, this is going to be very close. The potential to make $1,000 on your very first trade exists right now, And if volatility continues to remain elevated, those opportunities will continue. Again, all of the trades that I've shown you are actual fills, actual trades, real money, not hypothetical. So here's the package that I have put together for you. First of all, you're going to get 3 months access to my live trade webinars. Even if volatility doesn't remain elevated, you're going to get continued access to these live trade webinars. While the volatility is elevated, I will focus primarily on the 911 trading strategy, and so you'll get at least 3 months access to that. If volatility continues, I'll keep it going for another 3 months. So if we get 3 months down the road and the volatility is still higher and 911 trade opportunities are still there, I will extend your access to these live trade webinars for another 3 months. I want you to be able to maximize the value out of this package for as long as the opportunities last. And in these webinars, I show you step by step how to find these trades, what to look for, and then I take a few trades while you're watching. You can follow along if you want. If you want to take the same trades I'm taking in the webinar, you have that ability to do so. The webinar is also being recorded, so you have access to those as well. And usually I'm taking about 3 trades per week, depending on what's going on in the market. Again, every one of them is recorded, and you'll get lifetime access to these recordings. So in other words, let's say it's another 2 years before the markets begin to crash or volatility begins to increase. You can come back to these sessions from 2 years prior and look at the opportunities that we're taking advantage of then, and you'll be able to duplicate it in the future. So it's really, really valuable information to have and be able to come back and access. You'll have also lifetime access to the 911 strategy videos, where I fully reveal the strategy in these videos, including how to maximize returns while the opportunities last. Plus, you'll get a series on how to stack profits. This is a separate type of strategy that can be applied to 911. So it's almost like a strategy of how to trade a strategy. And it involves stacking profits with the very powerful 911 emergency trade strategy. I told you I was going to show you how to maximize the opportunities. This is how Jake turned 3,000 into 55,000. He not only took advantage of the 911 emergency trades, he also stacked profits in those trades. So you'll get access to that. Plus, you'll get 6 months access to my 911 emergency trade finder. This is gold. This is absolute gold. Absolute gold. This is how I find the trades. So I mentioned earlier that I'd show you the dozens of opportunities that exist right now based on $100 risk or less. And so I filtered the trades. Here they are. Here's the $100 max risk. So I just implemented this filter. This is the trade finder that you'll get. And you'll see down here at the bottom, hopefully you can see this, 171 opportunities that have $100 risk or less. That doesn't mean I take them all, but you'll learn about that in the videos as we go through those videos and see the opportunities. So there are dozens of these opportunities that are revealed, and super fast. Like, you run the scan, and within 5 minutes you're going to have like 15,000 different combinations. So I would strongly suggest that you take advantage of this package. You can call Spring or Candace at 918-203-7547, or if you want to make sure you get in on the opportunity, just click on the link below the video and secure your spot. Now, again, one single trade could produce over $1,000 in profits in just a few days. I've seen it. I've proven it. Other traders have done it and proven it. Don't wait until it's too late again. Now, this is normally $2,997. This type of package is normally about $3,000, and it's worth tens of thousands of dollars The more volatile the markets are in the future, the more package is going to be worth. But just to have it in your back pocket, in your arsenal, is super valuable. But through this weekend only, you're not going to pay $3 grand. Through this weekend only, everything here is yours for $997. You'll be able to attend the first 911 emergency session that we've had in about 5 years. That'll be on Monday, April 7th, 11 a.m. Eastern. It's being recorded if you can't attend live, and you might be able to watch the recording and still put on similar trades. But you get everything here, $997. It's over in through the weekend. So do not hesitate to get in on this. This isn't the Holy Grail. There are risks, and I thoroughly cover every aspect of this strategy in the webinars and videos, including the risks, so that you are well aware of what you need to do to give yourself the highest probability of success. But when you see trades like this, you just won't find anything comparable in the entire industry. There just isn't anything that has better risk-reward metrics during times of volatility anywhere at any price. So take advantage of it before the weekend is over. This offer ends Monday. You'll be able to watch the videos, attend the call, and watch me trade possibly your first 911 emergency trade on Monday morning. So click on the button or call Spring or Candace 918-203-7547, and I look forward to seeing you in the session on Monday.